Hello, it's Lori. It's 2026. It's the end of January. And boy, oh boy, have I been busy. This is Junk Journal January, and I'm using 2 sets of prompts. This is the final. It was with Ink and Page and with Be Happy Stationery, hosted by Vintage Button and Be Happy Stationery. So there are 2 sets of papers. I have the little animals that were created by Crafting Dragon Designs, and 2 sets of words. These words from Ink and Page, the digitals, were extraordinary, and they're my colors, and my printer printed them correctly. And the words were more practical. The Junk Journal January UK words were more inspirational, aspirational, imaginative. So by putting these 2 together on the same day, so day 1 and day 1, day 14 and day 14, I came up with a spread that was unique. All right, I'm going to flip through, and you can see I made this out of a book cover. This book was on my mother's desk my entire growing up years. It's a medical encyclopedia from the 1950s. So I took the page block out and decorated the cover. You can see the cover. It has a black cover, plain cover. There was gold lettering on the spine, so first I put gesso down, and the gesso was very textured. And then I used watercolor over top. And finally, for here, the spine, it's a paper napkin, 1 ply, and the whole thing has Mod Podge over it. There's some hardware that I gilded. One of the prompts was gilding. So I gilded this hardware too. This is a brad. I've gone all the way through the cover to the other side. And the book, the journal, has a floating spine. So the spine itself is connected to this side with fabric and paper, and this side, so from here to here. There's nothing actually in the actual spine except an extra piece of watercolor paper. So I didn't make a pocket or anything in the front. I just left it the way it was. This is watercolor paper. I tried to match the colors to the digitals. And moving forward, this again is the paper napkin. I can show you the way it started. Here's the paper napkin. So what you do with a paper napkin is you separate the plies and you use just one. So that is the first page. And at 2026, I did some die cuts of window frames. I thought looking through might be an interesting impact effect. Now for each of the prompts, this is one, I made little cards, tea dye paper backed. I knew that I'd never remember the 2 that went together. So all the way through this journal, I have little hanging tags. I may leave them on, I may not, but for this flip through, it'll help both you and me. So the first prompt was open and intentions. Those 2. See, I'll show you. Intentions and open. How do you do that? I don't know. Well, this is the opening spread. And my intention, I don't make goals or whatever. I choose one word, and it is this year I choose a word for every year. Last year was steady. This year is with. Steady is kind of self-explanatory. It showed up in my crafting, for example, where I made a video or two every week steadily all through 2026. So this year's with, and that means I'm doing things with people. I'm a very intense introvert who likes people. So I don't always give myself the opportunity to be with people. Therefore, I've with another lady who instigated it, we craft together in a real time, real person, in real life crafting group. So with, I show my videos to people so I can be with other crafters, at least virtually. So you get the idea. With, I have to put that back later. Now I'm going to show you this because it's the 30th prompt. We've got all the way from 1 to 30. I had, as I was making this journal, originally it was going to be 2 signatures. It ended up only being 1 because the spine wasn't wide enough. And as it is, you can see how terribly junky, wide, what do you call it, alligator mouth it is. But regardless. So this is the beginning. Yes, it's a literal meaning, the beginning of the book. And layers. And I knew that I could make layers, and I did layers all through the book, but this was something I've been meaning to do often. It's a bunch of the trims and fabrics that were used in this journal, and I layered them onto a ribbon clip and then onto this bulb pin. So what I'm going to do is just go through the prompts as they appear in the book. And you'll understand that sometimes they're not in order because of the lack of space. This is prompt 2, and it is script and slow. To me, script writing or calligraphy or brush lettering is a slow experience. I am not a quick crafter either, so in many ways it's slow to do. So I made this into a pocket with the sweet little faces of the mice. This is a brad. You can see it's tea-end watercolor dyed. And a belly band here that comes later as a prompt, but you know how, as a junk journaler, you just sort of do things. This one is the 3rd day, postcard and cozy. Now the postcards were self-evident, but how did I translate the idea of cozy? Well, I think about myself, and maybe you, I don't know. When we're traveling, it's often not a cozy experience. But what if we receive a note, a postcard from a friend at home? And there we are in our cozy little kitchen or our chair, and we receive a postcard that's greeting us. Yeah, that's a lovely experience. It's both being out and being cozy at home at the same time. Now this one. So here, ticket and frosted. So this I painted with just watercolor and some iridescent watercolors, and I thought it looked frosted for me. This here is an example of something that my grandmother made that I have around. She did some tatting, and I've been using them. Oops, I gotta put that back on. I've been using them in my junk journal very rarely because I don't have that many, but it's a reminder of my grandmother and her faith. So frosted here, and tickets are here. And I really liked it's really hard to let go of something willingly and deliberately unless you're being still. So those two, that meant something to me. As life goes on, there's more and more things that we have to let go. Maybe it's because of our age and stage, or maybe it's just because we have no choice except to let go. But by finding some stillness, it sometimes gets easier to let go. Just a thought. So this one is Invoice and Simple. So it's a simple little pocket. There's a poem and a letter. My intention is, as the year goes by, to write in here the things, yeah, maybe some of the things that I have to let go of. But because there's a cost, there is always a cost to hanging on to things, even if they're wonderful. So, invoice, paid, a paid invoice by letting go of some things. Now this is vellum, and I used a brad on both sides. I liked this yarn because it reminded me of the one before, cozy. It's very cozy. Somebody gave me the leftovers from, they were making slippers. So, all right, cozy. Aha, here's one. So this, I used the brad to attach this, and I glued on things. This is one of those die cut with my Cricut outlines of a window. And I thought, what if it was so snowy and so windy and cold, and the little mice were just looking out the door, looking at the it's like they're in their little nest. Here's another image of the little mice in their nest. We're looking out at them. So this is texture paste. I have a video where I did this, and there's some iridescent pearl colored watercolors to add some images to that. So that was sort of cozy, that was nest, and to be literal, a tag. I added a wax seal to the front of the tag. It's empty at this point, but it'll be filled up with some writing as the year goes by. We're expecting a snowstorm in my area of North Carolina this weekend. So, yeah, cozy, staying inside, cozy. This is vellum, and I used an embossing folder to make the texture of the snowflakes. And I really thought these little hedgehogs, it's like they're dreaming in their hidden place as the snowflakes fall down. And I'm going to write a little bit here of what I'm dreaming about this year on the back of this tag that's in a belly band. Again, it's vellum. So, snowflakes all over here. And this is the belly band. You'd think this was a belly band, but it worked better by adhering it to the page. Tabs and snippet. I don't make snippets very often. I don't know why, I just don't. So this was a deliberate snippet. This is watercolor with salt put on and let it dry. The lace that's used in this journal, some of the burlap ribbon, some of the fabric, and one of the images. And I used a brad to put the things onto this. Actually, yeah, you get it. And I made a bunch of tabs. And that's what you see here. There was somebody in one of the Facebook groups that was doing this Junk Journal January that had a whole bunch of dangles from tabs, and it inspired me. So I've started some dangles. I don't think I'll add more. Yeah, I'm not good at it yet, so I have to practice. So I practiced. This is a belly band. Yeah. And I have something to put in here, it's just not in here right now. This could be a belly band. I chose not to make it a belly band. This is a wax seal with just some burlap there. I tried to do the juxtaposition between the really rough outdoor fabric and then the gilding. There was a tag for gilded somewhere, and I don't know where it went. Maybe it's future. So this one, oh, gilded pocket, there it is. So this one, a little explanation. The two prompts on the same day were promise and torn, and you can see it's the 25th. And this one I put off making for the longest time because I didn't want the idea of a promise being torn, because that's not a positive view, is it? If you notice from this side, you can see the shape of the cross, and it's in one piece. This side of the cross, it's recognizable as a cross. It's in one piece. And it made me think of, as a Christian, the promise of the cross, of Jesus' death, resurrection, eternal life. It's very evident, but it isn't for everybody. And at different points in your life, sometimes it's just little pieces that sometimes they show up just like the little piece of a puzzle piece. And it isn't until you put all the pieces together, or God helps you put all the pieces together, or for whatever, you can see then the outline. So I thought I'll leave some of the pieces torn here as though it were a puzzle piece. There's a Japanese art where they use gold to emphasize the cracks of broken pottery. And now that's symbolic also, because once you start putting the pieces together of what the cross means, you realize how very precious it is. My husband, when he looked at this, it reminded him of a Big Bang Theory point that he had watched on an airplane recently, and it was when Sheldon and Penny were doing a treasure hunt, and each two of the groups, they had to solve puzzles. One of the points was to solve a puzzle to know where to go next. And Sheldon threw out, they both put out the pieces, and he was like, you have to start on the edges and then fill in the middle. And Penny said, no, that isn't how you do it. You find the parts that go together. And she was so frustrated because she knew immediately the next place to go was the comic book store. And Sheldon, even though he could see the picture coming together, he still was determined to finish the whole thing before he identified. He said there could be something in the window. Until finally he had the entire puzzle piece together, and he had to say, it's the comic book store. And of course, Penny stood there feeling extremely frustrated the entire time because she knew ahead of time. So, yeah, anyhow, that's what that one meant to me. So, gilded pocket is the next. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant. Anyhow, gilded pocket. And this one is favorite book and lace. Now let me tell you a story about the lace. The lace was something from our in-person crafting group. One of the ladies, we all bring in little things that we would like to share with the group. And she brought in this valance. It was a lace valance that she'd found from her apartment area that somebody had thrown away. And I have been using it, and it's because I have lots of pretty lace, but it's all white. And this one was a beige lace. So I think of her when I'm playing with this lace and our group that I'm with. So favorite book and lace. My favorite book, it caused me to really think about it because I read all the time, and I have many books that I really like. But I thought of my childhood books because the lady the vintage button, she made her journal out of an old child book that she liked. So my favorite book is called The Forgotten Beasts of Eld. It's by Patricia McKillop, and I read it probably in grade 7. And I own a copy of it, and it is one of my most favorite books. It caused me to go back and find it and reread it, ironically. Envelope and stamp, that's literal. And here is my little accordion and rest. So the reason I used rest, because I thought all the little animals, they're resting, they're hibernating. It's winter. Yeah, so that was 21. You see I'm flipping back and forth because I had to. This one is Starry and Fabric. So one of the things that I want to do is embroider this year. I have my embroidery thread ready to grab. If you watch my craft room, I'll link below, craft room tour, you can see I have it all ready. So I embroidered stars on fabric. Now this one, Still Life and Book Page. Why this book page? And why Still Life? So this is the Handy Home Medical Advisor. Yeah, it's the page from this book, from this cover. And I chose this one because it's about the effects of exercise. A still life leads us to, not why do we exercise? People do not exercise who do not have positive health. So if you want positive health, you cannot live a still life. You must exercise. Yeah, I was laughing at myself because, this word intrigued me. We might not know everything now, but we will. So, there we go. And shadows and ribbon. More shadows. I guess I felt the watercolor created shadows. I don't know. And of course, literal, a ribbon. And this is silver for 15, day 15, and label. So a label. And I used my heat embossing, melted some silver on there. This is a silver label that says courage. And a little heart on a silver metal wire. I made jewelry. When our son and our daughter-in-law got married, I made her some earrings. She wore them on her wedding day. Very simple, nothing extraordinary, but I have the wires and the beads and stuff still. All right, this one is glow and tape. This is some Tim Holtz tape that one of my friends in the crafting group, actually the originator of the crafting group, she gave a length of this Tim Holtz fabric tape. So I used some of the gilding wax and I brushed the gilding wax glow so that it would appear as though it's glowing. I don't know if it is or not. Added some of that gilding wax here. It was a lot more messy than I expected. Day 14 is whimsy and button. So I couldn't find a whimsical button in my button box. So I made my own. And it came through here. And this is balanced and distressed. Now this again is one of the window frames. And I've just put a double layer of tracing paper with some dried flowers in there. That was from a bouquet that my husband gave me. And I dried the flowers and now they're in here. So balanced and distressed. Do you see the difference? I used sandpaper until it didn't make a hole in it, but or almost, maybe. This is a very thick paper. So it's now a little booklet that's balanced, but it's also distressed. This one here. This is mismatched tab. The tab has two different mismatched sides. Okay, that was really simple, but there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. That's C.S. Lewis. I read some of his books every year. Right now I'm reading about joy. Joy, discovered joy. I forget. It's about his early life. I like C.S. Lewis as an author. So, mismatched. It's also about, and dyed. Contrast and dyed. That was the other one. The contrast is the two different sides, and they're both dyed. So the difference between dyed and painted, dye goes into, instead of just laying on top. For example, this is painted with watercolor, but the water, it's just on top. It's not all the way into the fibers of the paper. But this is dyed with Easter egg and tea dye, and this is just tea dye. So that's where the prompts came together. This I left just the way it was because I liked how the image showed through. And there's this design that's the white flowers and butterflies. It's like in the winter you dream of the flowers and the butterflies coming back. Yeah, so I liked how this showed through. Now this one is a little complicated. It's frame. Oh, not that one. Frame. Print and frame. So this holds the, this was the watercolor with salt. I have a video about that. It's really cool. With the image inside a frame. And the little owls are hiding behind. I just love their expressions. And it is also a flip. See, it flips. And how I translated in my own head the prompt home was with a key. Think about it. Where do you have keys for? Places that feel like home. And we lived in an RV and traveled full time for 5 years. And yeah, we had a key for our moving home. Now this is folded in envelope. And it has a second prompt, forest and stencil. So I made my own stencil. I didn't have a stencil, so I used my Cricut. That's one of the things I want to do, is work with my Cricut in 2026. And to hold it on, there's just this little burlappy thing, and it slides in like this, and I tie the ribbon, and it's attached. Simply. Well, it's secure, but I wouldn't want my 7-year-old granddaughter opening it because she would be excited and she'd pull on it and tug on it. And yeah, it may not be secure after that. I think you might imagine. Okay, a bow. It shouldn't be that hard to do a bow, should it? So, there you go. We've got stencil, forest. There's the width again. I was cutting out cards of, yeah, you get the idea. Why is this not sliding? There. And moving forward, so this is 29. Softness and map. This is another paper napkin. I got a set of them 11 years ago when we were in Munich, Germany. And I've been saving them. They've been sitting in the box. And you know how it is. Sometimes you love things so much and you just save them and save them. Never use them. I thought today I'm going to use them because it's both soft and it's a map. And then putting the owls on here with feathers. So one of the crafters that is doing this, I'll put her name on the screen. I just laughed. She made a beautiful spread for day 29. And she's doing softness, so she's doing only she's doing the Junk Journal January. And she had the owls, and she wanted to find her white feathers. And she couldn't, so she used other feathers. But I commented on her thing. It's like, they're in my craft closet. So we were joking also online in the Facebook group, her Facebook group. Again, I'll put the name here and link below to her. Yeah. We get ideas from our craft friends, right? When we are with them. Maybe not in person, but yeah, communication brings us together. And this one was a hard one and an easy one too. So timeless on the 26th. Love is timeless. 4 years ago on the 26th, our third grandchild was born. His name was Charlie, and he lived for 26 days, 30 days. Numbers aren't my strength. His mom read him the book about Winnie the Pooh while they sat in the hospital. And sadly, he was so sick. He had a malformation of the brain that he couldn't live. So he would have been 4 on the 26th. And this is little Charlie and his siblings. But love is timeless. So this is my little collage for Charlie and the love we have for him. And the end. So here's the end. 31, flip through and close. This is the close of January. I know I'm a few days ahead, but I make videos on Fridays and Tuesdays. So that's why it's here today. I finished early, but I finished. And it's okay if you're not finished. You don't have to finish. Yeah. Isn't it interesting, our crafting? I challenged myself this year in January, and it was with the focus of being with others. Already this January, I have managed to complete something. I stretched my brain by putting together 2 sets of prompts and fought with a printer, and I've decided that I am going to get a new printer. And had fun doing things with everyone else that is also engaged. So here's my Junk January, July, Junk Journal January UK, and it's not July, it's January. I'll probably do it again in July, but yeah, here it is. Now, which is my favorite page? I think it's still here, this one. I really like this one with the paste, the texture paste. It's called Light and Fluffy Texture Paste with the little mice peeking through the door and snow represented. So, I wish you well. Take care. It's Lori at Positive Thanks Living, and I'll see you on Tuesday. I do have a lot of scraps left, like as we often do, right? And someone gave me, I'll put her name on the screen, gave me an idea of what to do with the scraps. So I'll be doing that on Tuesday's video. Take care. I wish you well. Happy crafting. Bye for now.